Did you ever wonder how the news and how the media can turn information into good and bad, into white and dark, how they can manipulate your understanding of that information so you get the impression they want? Well, this is called framing, and in this video we talk everything that you need to know about it. To better understand framing, let's look at an example. Just like me, a lot of people like to drink coffee, and a lot of shops sell the coffee in a paper cup. Let's take this as an example. The first scenario might sound like this. Paper coffee cups is a tree killer. The introduction of a paper coffee cup is bad for the environment, as trees and even complete woods have to be cut to produce the paper cup. Or you might present the same information in this manner. Paper coffee cup saves the earth. The introduction of a paper coffee cup is good for the environment, as plastic cups do not have to be used anymore, which reduces the waste production considerably. Was it similar to you? It is about the same topic. A goddamn paper coffee cup. And you can present it in a good way, or you can present it in a bad way, depending on your interest. But before going there to the interest and why media would do that and why companies would like you to know about their products in a certain way, let's take a step back in the history and understand more about framing. If you know my channel, you probably watched the video I've created right here about the history of corporate communication. If you didn't, let me tell you as a summary that corporate communication, or public relations as you might know it, exists because marketing was quite crossing the line to sell their products. Basically, the marketing department was almost or sometimes maybe lying about the products, so they make customers buy them. So you got the company to create a department called public relations, so they would come up with messages to make people believe, hey, we are doing the right thing here, we are not lying. So basically they are managing the reputation and managing the image of a company through communication. So you have writers, you have editors, you have printists, and all of them need information from the company to come out and write about that, so they produce the content for the organizations they work for. In the same time, communication practitioners of a company needs to communicate with the journalist as well. It is quite a love-hate relationships when it comes to external communications. The relationship between communication practitioners and journalists has often been described as adversarial. Journalists often have a negative opinion about communication practitioners because they feel that there is a clear divide between their interests. According to journalists, communicators think about their needs of the companies first and less about what journalists need. On the other hand, communicators are less negative about journalists and are often eager to work with them. So, long story short, the journalists work for a news organization. The news organization needs money. Corporations want to communicate and they pay money to news organizations. So basically, depending on their interests of the news organizations and of the corporations, they need to meet together to have delivered a same message. But sometimes the news organization has own political opinions or have certain directions they want to go because they know that their readers prefer that direction. In the same time, corporations have their own political influences and of course beliefs and attitudes and how they want their message to be perceived, and they want to go in another direction. So this is the crunch that happens when you have these two working together, and their problem is that they need to work together. There are also benefits that happen when these two work together. Journalists need and use information provided by communication practitioners as content for their work. Practitioners work with the journalists to generate coverage on the company and to reach important stakeholders. There are also disadvantages. Journalists aim to satisfy the perception of their stakeholders by shaping information in a way that is digestible to them. Journalists also need to consider the policy of the news organizations they work for that may have political points of views and interests. Communicators aim to reach their important stakeholders with particular messages that are often reframed by journalists. Companies often have their own interests and political point of view. Now that you understand the, well, love-hate relationship between journalists, news organizations, and communication practitioners with their companies, we can go back to framing and understand how that works, particularly how they use framing. We define framing as creating a message that uses or connect with the underlying psychological and cultural views of how people digest information and judge information. The framing theory is a rich approach that has been used to understand and investigate communication in a wide range of disciplines, including psychology, decision-making, economics, political communication, speech, mass, and health communication. The framing theory focuses on how messages are created to connect with the underlying psychological processes of how people digest information and make judgments. Remember that framing is important because it helps shape the perspective through which people see the world. Corporate communication managers and journalists negotiate on how news of the company is framed, thus which information is included, which information is excluded, and what is the emphasis of the message. To frame is to select aspects of perceived reality and make them more salient in the communication text in such a way as to promote a particular problem definition, causal interpretation, moral evaluation, and/or treatment recommendation for the item described. So, because we talked about journalists, news organizations, and the communication practitioners on the side of the companies, it is clearly that there are two main ways to frame news, and we will explore these two ways. Portraying news of an organization is a way that is beneficial to the organization. Practitioners frame a particular corporate decision, issue, or event in a way that furthers and promotes the interest of the organization. This frame, which features in a press release, in corporate reports, on the company's website, in of spokespersons of the CEO, is provided to the media and to the general public. On the other side, news framing selectively portrays news by the media. News framing refers to the way in which news is selectively portrayed by the media in an effort to explain news or ideas about organizations in familiar terms for a broader audience. It depends on the political views and ideology of journalists and their news organizations. So now you know how these two framing methods work. There is corporate framing, there is news framing, and each one has their benefits, their disadvantages, and of course their interests. And talking about interest, you might have guessed that there is an interest for these two organizations to work together, so to have an alignment, we call it. And let's talk about the alignment on framing. To align the frames, it is likely to openly discuss an issue, so journalists are more likely to understand the other side. They can do the following: present corporate news in such a way that corporate news can be used as media news, propose stories that follow dominant news frames, fit certain categories of content by communicating professionals. Alignment is more likely when corporate news is neutral. And finally, I will leave you with an example. In July 2006, a trader in Citigroup committed suicide by climbing over a barrier and jumping from the 16th floor of the bank's Canary Wharf office. Despite the evidence of suicide committed because of mental depression, many newspapers framed the suicide in inverted commas, openly suggesting a link to work pressure in the investment banking industry. Keep in mind that everybody has their own risk and own interest at hand, and of course they will use their power, their money, their resources to promote that interest, to promote the point of view they want to be promoted. This was everything for this video. I hope it helped you understand everything you need to know about framing and how framing is used in corporate communication and also in news communication. If you'd like to learn more about these topics such as marketing, research, and corporate communication, there are playlists right here, or check the other videos on my channel. If you're an entrepreneur or a manager of a company, there is a link down in the description that you want to check to get a step-by-step business plan for your company. There are links where you can download a step-by-step guide that will give you the exact information you need to know to create an original business plan for your company, and it comes with all the information you need to understand the marketing of a company and how to create communication campaigns for your company. You will have a personalized by-the-book business plan, marketing plan, and communication strategies to get going with your company. Remember that you can also support me for free in the classical ways. You can like the video, you can subscribe to the channel, and you can leave a comment down in the comment section below for the YouTube algorithm. Also, I drink quite a lot of coffee to create these videos, to research all the information for the videos, to edit them, to film them so you can watch them for free. So if you want to buy me a coffee, there is a link down in the description for that. I will quite appreciate it, and I will see you at the next video on my channel.